What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Paul. This is the Leeds Therapy. Thank you as ever for stopping by. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you are doing well. Before we get into the video, make sure that you subscribe, notifications are turned on, you're commenting, liking, hyping, all of that good stuff. And if you're listening to the audio, just make sure that you're liking and following either on Apple or on Spotify as well. Hopefully, for the people that have been complaining about me asking you to do that at the start of the video, that's short enough for you not to get annoyed about it. So, today's video, I just wanted to touch base and clear up some bits and pieces on Julian Brandt, and we're going to talk about the civil war that is FIFA versus the rest of the world, specifically UEFA. So we are going to crack on and get into that one. But in the first instance, what I do want to do is have a conversation about Brandt and a little bit of something that was brought up yesterday in relation to potential people that might be coming in to hijack the deal. That's the best way that I can explain it. So let's jump straight in and let's see what we can crack on with. Right, okay. Sorry, that went a bit weird for a second. I do apologise. So it would appear that there's a little bit of confusion going on at the moment with relation to Julian Brandt, or just some things don't feel quite right. It's the wrong word, but just the information out there is not quite right. There were quite a few people that jumped on Brandt going to, or Real Sociedad coming into the mix and wanting to, I say quote unquote, hijack the deal. He's not hijacking anything. There's an offer on the table for him, and it just is the way that it is. Now, where we stand with this at this current moment in time is that the Real Sociedad link appears to be not quite right, or maybe potentially not quite accurate. And specifically, Smith in the Yorkshire Evening Post, came out with almost like a little bit of like pouring cold water on the subject itself, just kind of trying to make sure that, you know, all the right information was there. Specifically, in an article that he wrote, he says, the Whites' offer to free agent Julian Brandt also still stands. The German number 10's father has courted a number of clubs this summer, including the Whites. Jurgen Brandt paid a visit to Thorpe Arch to speak to Leeds officials, but the Brandts continue to play a waiting game to explore all their options. On Monday, an account on X.com, purporting to be a journalist covering Real Sociedad, claimed last season's Copa del Rey winners are keen on the attacker, but that has yet to be followed up by major outlets in San Sebastian. La Real have also plenty of options in attacking midfield, and were thought to be in the market for a winger who can also play up top rather than an inside number 10. But if they were indeed among Brandt's suitors, they could offer Europa League football next season. So that was the big bit that everybody kind of clung on to, was the fact that it was, some people clung on to, was that if there's another club that's coming in that's offering European football, then that is going to completely put us out of the equation straight away. Forget about it, move on, all of that type of stuff. However, with that being said, it would appear that that's not quite right. There's a few ITKs as well that have actually come out and said that it's a load of rubbish. It's not true. So you kind of take it as kind of, I don't believe that it's true, but Smith coming out with this does just pour that little bit of cold water on there. Could they be in for him? Absolutely. Do I think they are? I'm not 100% certain. Then they given what they're looking for, it wouldn't make sense, if that makes sense, kind of thing. And I know I put out a post last night saying that I was a little bit frustrated with the way that everything was going, and that maybe we're getting close to walk away territory. And that's kind of more me being more emotional with the situation rather than sort of being factual with it, if that makes sense. So it's looking at it from a point of view of, I just want the nice new shiny thing and I want him in place. However, with that being said, when you've got somebody of that caliber, and believe me, he is of that caliber, you have to be prepared to wait for things to happen sometimes. And a little bit of patience is really, really important in these types of situations. So do we sit tight with that and keep it there on the back burner, or do we want to move on to other objectives? I think when an opportunity like that comes around, and I agree with Jer from the Leeds view, is that you do have to wait. You do have to be patient. You have to remember where our position is in the league at this moment in time, in terms of where our status in the league. The status as a club is phenomenally good. The fact that we've got Muhamovic at the club now really, really elevates us, and it does help with other potential players that could be coming into the club. But with Brandt, this is probably going to be one of his final contracts, decent sized contracts that he signs. So we're probably going to have to not sit on our hands for a little bit, but just bear with it a little bit before it actually either does or doesn't come to fruition. I have every confidence that the club will be working on other things in the background as well, and stuff that they can move on. They've already proved that already this season, or in this transfer window already. So I'm not hugely concerned. And as much as I want the nice new shiny thing and I'm impatient for it, I think when it comes to a player of that quality, you do have to be prepared to be patient. And I think as fans and as a club, that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to be mega patient with it. As annoying as it is, it's just one of those things. So next thing's next. So this is less Leeds related, but I think it's important to talk about. So FIFA versus UEFA. Gianni Infantino versus the European game. At the centre of it all, $4.2 billion. It's a proposal that's so controversial that UEFA have called an emergency meeting. The FA have publicly questioned the process, and there are even whispers of European nations considering drastic action if this continues. So I wanted to just break it down a little bit, give a little bit more information. So what FIFA are actually proposing, why they want the 4.2 billion, who the investors are likely to be, why UEFA are absolutely furious, why the FA has come out against the proposal, and what this could mean for football in the years ahead. Because, genuinely, this feels like one of the biggest governance battles football has seen in decades. So what's been announced? Earlier this week, FIFA officially unveiled plans to create an entirely new commercial company called FIFA Forward Enterprises, or FFE. Now, this isn't FIFA selling itself. That's an important distinction. Instead, FIFA wants to move almost all of its commercial assets into this new company. That includes things like World Cup broadcasting rights, sponsorship deals, commercial partnerships, ticketing, licensing, hospitality, Club World Cup revenues, Women's World Cup commercial rights, and youth tournaments. Essentially, everything that actually makes money. The idea is that FIFA would still control the rules of football, governance and competitions, but investors would own a minority financial stake in the commercial business. This is where the numbers become extraordinary. FIFA believes this new commercial company could be worth around $20 billion. Then they want to sell roughly 20% of that business to outside investors. That would raise approximately $4.2 billion, not through debt, not through bank loans, but by selling minority ownership in football's commercial future. Here's FIFA's argument. Infantino says this isn't about making investors rich. He says it's about making football richer. The plan is for the money raised to dramatically increase funding to FIFA's 211 member associations. Some associations could receive immediate one-off funding of up to 20 million, with significantly increased development funding over the coming years. FIFA argues that means more football facilities, better academies, more grassroots investment, more national training centres, greater support for smaller football nations. On paper, that sounds difficult to argue against. So, why is everybody so angry about this? It sounds like a really positive thing. UEFA says this isn't really about development, it's about ownership. And that's where the battle begins. UEFA's response has been astonishingly strong. They've accused FIFA of attempting to commercialise something that doesn't belong to them. One of the strongest lines from UEFA's statement was essentially, the World Cup is not FIFA's to sell. Their argument is that football competitions, are part of sports heritage, not financial assets, not investment vehicles, and certainly not something that should be partially owned by private investors. UEFA has also criticised the way the proposal was developed, arguing there was almost no meaningful consultation before it was presented. Although FIFA hasn't confirmed a final investor group, reports suggest that major private equity firms and institutional investors are among those showing interest. According to multiple reports, JP Morgan is helping structure the proposal, while reports have also linked Thrive Capital, founded by Joshua Kushner, with the wider project, and we all know who's his father-in-law. These aren't football companies, they're investment companies. Their job is simple: generate returns, which immediately raises the obvious question. If investors expect profits, where do these profits come from? Higher broadcasting income, more tournaments, expanded competitions, more sponsorship, higher ticket prices. That's exactly what worries UEFA. UEFA's biggest concern is that it believes that football is already becoming overloaded. Players are playing too many matches, the calendar is packed, supporters complain about fixture congestion every season, yet FIFA has expanded the Club World Cup, expanded the World Cup, created more international windows. Now, some critics fear private investors would naturally push for even more commercial opportunities, because more tournaments usually mean more revenue, and more revenue benefits investors. That's why UEFA says governance should never be influenced by commercial shareholders. What has the FA said? Well, the English Football Association has already taken a very cautious position. Perhaps the most striking admission was that the FA said it was effectively unaware of the proposal before it became public. Their response focused concerns around transparency, government, consultation, and the understanding exactly what FIFA is asking national associations to approve. The FA has made it clear that it wants to see the full details before taking a final position, but it has already expressed concern about how the proposal has been handled. This is where it's going to start to become fascinating, because could Europe really boycott FIFA? Some reports suggest discussions have even touched on the possibility of coordinated European action if relationships continue to deteriorate. Now, let's be clear, nothing has been agreed, no boycott has been announced, but the fact that respected outlets are even reporting those conversations tells you how serious the dispute has become. Now, let's try and swing this back round to us. Why do we need to care about it? Generally, you're going to be thinking it's got nothing to do with us, but actually when you think about it, it probably does, because every Premier League club exists inside football's wider financial ecosystem. Broadcast money, international tournaments, player release rules, commercial revenues, fixture calendars, all of those decisions eventually filter down to clubs. If FIFA's commercial model changes, football's financial landscape could change with it. To be balanced, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, believe me, there are positives. If FIFA genuinely reinvests every penny into football, smaller nations could benefit enormously. Countries with little infrastructure could build training centres, women's football could receive greater funding, youth football around the world could expand significantly. That's FIFA's vision. The question critics ask is whether selling commercial interests is the right way to achieve it. For me, it feels much more than an argument over money. It's an argument over who controls football. FIFA says this is modernisation. UEFA says it's commercialisation. FIFA says this creates opportunity. UEFA says it risks selling football's soul. Somewhere between those two positions, there probably is a sensible middle ground. But right now, both sides seem further apart than they have been for years. When you look at it on the face of it, this is for me, it's very, very, very serious. UEFA released a statement as well on Thursday, just to give you the high notes of it. UEFA and its 55 member associations stand as one. We unanimously and unequivocally reject FIFA's proposal to transfer ownership interests in the World Cup and other FIFA competitions to private investors. The World Cup cannot be treated as an investor product. It is one of football's greatest sporting legacies. It has been built over generations by players, national teams, and supporters across every continent. No part of it should ever be surrendered to private investors. The World Cup is not for sale. And that's a really, really strong. And that's not the whole statement. The statement is obviously it's a little bit longer than that, but they are looking at boycotting. There's been a couple of breaking news pieces that have said that they are willing to boycott like the next World Cup or next FIFA competitions because of this. And you have to say that with it being Infantino, he's not covered himself in any form of glory whatsoever at all, with little instances that happened during the World Cup, the things that he said, little bits and pieces that he's done. The commercialization of football, it's a horrible thing that we all have to put up with at times, and it makes it very, very difficult for this sport that we all love, that we all want to have ownership of, that we all feel like we've got ownership of, is slowly being eroded and taken away from us. And that's a difficult thing to swallow. We all remember being kids, boys and girls, playing football, the old jumpers for goalposts thing, all of that side of stuff. It's slowly being eroded, and it's becoming commercialization. Now, I get that you need to put money into football. That makes sense. There has to be money put into football because it needs to be sustainable. However, when you're talking about private equity and private investment, they do not just invest in football for the sake of it. They invest for profit. When you look at it with who owns Leeds United, we've got an investment group that own us. These people that have invested will be either looking to sustain that for a period or want to take their profit out of that, hence just doing stuff like building a new stadium and all of that kind of stuff. So some of the investors will be able to take a profit out of it and move away. However, when you're looking at it from a JP Morgan, all of that style of things, they're going to want to get money out of this. So how do they get the money out of this? Which unfortunately means that this money that they're talking about trickling down might not actually happen. And that's the bit that's going to be the difficult pill to swallow. And the fact that FIFA haven't even consulted with anybody on this is a huge red flag for me. It's massive. Right. It's going to do it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me know how you feel about it. I know how I feel about it, but I want to know your comments. Like I said, I wanted to clear up the Julian Brandt thing and then obviously just talk about this because it is serious and it would potentially have a knock-on effect with us as well. So make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you're commenting, liking, hyping. If you've listened to the audio version, please just make sure you like that for me as well. Make sure that you take care of each other and also please take care of yourself. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Take it easy. Cheers.